We do also want to go back to our colleague Alex Haskell, who we saw when we came back on the air at 7 o'clock. He is in Bowdoin tonight, where Robert Card's family has long had property there. Alex, we will be hearing and describing what is going on there. We understand there are some more developments unfolding there in Bowdoin tonight, Alex.
Hi, Brian and Amanda. Yeah, so right now you will see that it's really dark here, and that's because all of the reporters have been asked by law enforcement to turn off their lights because of a dangerous situation. You're looking at what we can see. It is members of law enforcement in front of a house, and we can hear them saying, "Robert Card, we know you're in there. We're not going away. Come out with your hands up," with nothing in them. So it appears law enforcement believe they have found Robert Card, that he is in this home. Several hours ago, we saw police leave this area, multiple cars, and they have come back and gathered in front of this home. We saw members of law enforcement go into the woods, put up drones. Now they are in front of this home, telling Robert Card to come out with his hands up with nothing in them. And law enforcement have been on this road all day. This is quite the development. We are along Meadow Road because police were investigating at a home believed to be connected to Robert Card in some way. NBC reported finding a note at that home, and they were trying to figure out what that note says, and we don't have any details on that note. But again, law enforcement are back here. They came to us, asked the dozens of reporters here. That's why it might be a little noisy. There are dozens of reporters from all over here. Law enforcement told us to turn off our lights because of a dangerous situation, so it's completely dark here, and we are just listening to law enforcement. And they are supposedly speaking to Robert Card. They are saying, "This is the police. Come outside right now." I'm just trying to listen to hear if they're changing up what they're saying, but they're just telling Robert Card to come out with his hands up with nothing in them. We know that you're inside, and we're not going away. We've slowly seen police get closer to the home.
We're not getting in the home.
And I want to remind you that we are surrounded by other reporters, so you might hear some other voices and noises besides mine. We are, again, along Meadow Road. And I'll let you guys listen to this scene for a few minutes.
I know, but that... I know. Nate, I know, but...
Now, it appears police have stopped speaking. They have been taking breaks here and there. They might start up again shortly, calling to Robert Card, who it appears they believe is in this home.
If you want. Now, Alex, I hope you can hear us, and we certainly hope that you are staying safe. I know you're surrounded by other reporters and photographers there, and you've... Oh, listen in. Alex, I heard we do not want to hurt anyone. What did you hear out of that?
Yeah, I heard we don't want to hurt anyone. Come outside. I think come outside to the driveway. We are a little ways away. We are zoomed in on the camera, so it might look like we're a little closer than we are, but we're actually back a little bit. But that's just what I heard them say. I heard them say Robert Card's name and asked him to come out. But nothing has seemed to change at the moment. And they also said that they just don't want to hurt anyone, as you mentioned.
Very, very interesting developments, because we know police have been searching almost 24 hours, at this point, 24 hours, looking for Robert Card. And it...
ahead, Lindsay.
Has there been any confirmation the suspect is active?
So Amanda, So I don't know if you could hear that, but they were talking to possibly Robert Card, who they believe is in this house, telling him to come out in front of this car or truck in the driveway with his hands up and nothing in them. They said that we can guarantee your safety. Law enforcement saying that. They keep going on and off, trying to speak and then taking breaks, supposedly hoping that Robert Card will come out if he's in there.
Alex, obviously it is very dark. We can see those flashing lights in a distance and a little part of the house illuminated. Is there anything you can describe for us of what this would look like in the daylight right now? Are we looking at a very wooded area? Is this an open field or farmland? Is there anything that you can paint for us?
Yep, so we are in a rural part of Bowdoin. Right in front of me is a large field, and then off to the side is woods. It's kind of like what you would see in normal farm country here in Maine. This is not a new scene. So a big field is in front of us. Off to the right, bits and pieces of woods, and then some field scattered in there, and then this home that's kind of hidden by a little hill. But so there is some woods here. We saw law enforcement go into the woods earlier. Obviously, it is very dark, so we don't know where they're at right now. I'm just trying to look around.
Just to remind our viewers, too, who are just tuning
Amanda.
in right now, Alex, for those wondering why it is so dark, explain to us what police said to you.
Yeah, so I think about maybe half an hour now, a member of law enforcement came up to us and asked us to all turn our lights off. There are dozens of reporters here. We're all going live talking about this situation, and they asked us to turn our lights off because of a dangerous situation. And this was just after numerous police vehicles showed up, multiple armored vehicles. One was New Hampshire State Police, and they pulled up to this house, asked us to turn off our lights, and then we started to hear police speak over some sort of intercom system saying, "Robert Card, we know that you're in here, come out with your hands up." They said, "Come in front of this truck, we can guarantee your safety. We would like to speak with you." They're saying that right now. I'm just trying to listen in to see if they say anything new.
So trying to engage in conversations with this individual.
Not sure if you guys could hear that, but basically just reiterating what police have been saying. They're asking Robert Card, who they believe is inside this house, to come out in front of this truck with his hands up, with nothing in them, and that they can guarantee his safety. They don't want to hurt them, him.
Alex,
and just kind of want to remind you why. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
No, you go ahead, Alex, please.
Yep, just want to remind you why we were here in the first place. We're along Meadow Road in Bowdoin, and police were investigating a home we believe that in some form is connected to Robert Card. They found a note, according to NBC. Not sure what the details of those notes are. Police left about an hour and a half ago, and then they returned. And this is the scene we have now here in rural Maine. I was describing the scene earlier. We have a field in front of us, and then this kind of isolated home off to our left where law enforcement have gathered in front of, and speaking to Robert Card, who they believe is inside, asking him to come out with his hands up with nothing in them. They want to guarantee his safety. They said they will guarantee his safety. They don't want to hurt anyone inside that home. Not sure if they think that more people are in there, but they said they don't want to hurt anyone.
And Alex, just while we stay on these images, again, as you've mentioned, it's very dark. We can see some flashing lights. We can see a little bit of the house that police seem to be focused on, but just want to remind people what's going on here. It seems to be, hopefully, we are at the end of this manhunt. Police have been searching since they first got the call at 6:56 last night from Spare Time Recreation about an active shooter there, and then at Schmeggy's, where we know 18 people have died and at least 13 people have been injured. Our reporter Alex Haskell, we're hearing from him, who's at the scene in Bowdoin, where again police seem to be focused on a home that they believe is connected to Robert Card. NBC News reporting that it is Robert Card's home in Bowdoin there.
And that there was a note found there when investigators executed a search warrant this afternoon. We don't know what that note said or what may have indicated, but it certainly led to this response there tonight, where our Alex Haskell is. And Alex did point out to us as well that they are further back than it likely looks right now. They are using their camera to zoom in closer to the scene, but keeping their distance and again keeping their lights off at the request of law enforcement on this scene because of the situation that is unfolding. And we have been hearing on what is presumably a bullhorn from law enforcement talking to Robert Card, who they suspect is in this house, asking him to come out into the driveway by a truck that is parked there with nothing in his hands. We have not seen any movement from what we can tell in this video, but we certainly are with you in recognizing that it is very dark in Bowdoin tonight.
And Alex, we can't see much on our end, but you can probably see a little better. Have you seen any sort of movement, any police movement, any movement around the house?
Yeah, it's been pretty still here, guys, from what we can see. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There's a little bit of a hill blocking this home, so it's really hard for us to see the driveway in front of this home. Just pausing for a second because it sounds like
there's a helicopter.
What is
coming.
a helicopter is a, yep, I can see it coming likely right over the home. I'm just watching it slowing down, so we might see it kind of hover right around this home of interest here. But to answer your question, Amanda, no, we have not seen much movement before police started speaking to who they believe is Robert Card. We did see them go off into the woods, but it was kind of on the other side of the street, so not exactly sure what they were doing there. But things have been pretty still. The vehicles haven't moved. We've seen them inch closer and closer, but where they are right now is where they have been for quite some time.
And Alex, just it sort of speaks to how remote a lot of Maine is, and the town of Bowdoin is certainly a remote area. You were recently describing sort of the scene of what's between you and the house. Sounds like there's a field. What else are you seeing?
Yeah, so it's just a field, some woods. We're actually in someone's driveway right now, which is where all the reporters that are here have gathered. So we're in this driveway. We have this field in front of us. There's another home across the way here, and then to the left, this home of interest. And by that home, there's this little hill covering it, so we can't see too much, and there's some trees in between us and the home. So it's just like rural Maine. We have some fields here and some trees, and I'm just circling, looking to check out this helicopter. It appears to be circling back around. And we haven't heard police speak for quite a while. They were trying to communicate with who we believe is Robert Card. They believe that he is in this home, asking him to come out with his hands, with his hands up, with nothing in them. They want him to come in front of a truck that's in the driveway. Police are saying that they don't want to hurt him or anyone else that is inside this home.
And Alex, with that helicopter above, are you seeing any sort of spotlights? Does it seem like anything, any light focused in the area? Does it seem like maybe they're searching around the home?
Yeah, so that's a good point that you bring up, Amanda. This helicopter appears to be circling. There are no lights, though, but it is circling the area of this home and where we are. We do have a drone up in the air, but really no light here. We mentioned it that law enforcement came up to us a little while ago now and told all the reporters here, shut off your lights because there's a dangerous situation. And then we learned that they believe Robert Card is in his home in front of us, not too far from us either. But we are all gathered here, and there are members of law enforcement up this road, kind of beside us here. So they definitely have quite the presence, and rightfully so if they believe Robert Card is here, and that helicopter, as I'm sure you can hear in the background, continues to circle the area, but no lights shining on this home except the several armored vehicles that are in front of this home of interest that they are shining some lights on.
And
right
Alex,
now.
it seems like whatever little bit of light had been on a part of the house has either gone out or been blocked now. So we are mostly seeing just a few flashing lights. And again, I want to point out, just because the video is difficult to watch right now, you did mention also that there are some drones up in the area, so occasionally we're seeing some lights moving. It's likely those as well. And as you can hear in the audio where Alex Haskell is tonight, that helicopter is above this house in Bowdoin. Just to reiterate, the reason this shot right now is so dark is law enforcement asked Alex Haskell and his photographer and all of the reporters there tonight to turn off their lights while they are managing this scene and asking Robert Card to come out of this house in Bowdoin tonight.
I kind of want to set the scene for you guys, if I can. You know, we're in this neighbor's driveway, and I just tried to do a quick count. There are more than 20 photographers, reporters, all gathered here. So we're all together with our lights off, just kind of waiting to see what happens. And behind me, behind what you're seeing right now, is kind of like this long stretch of straight road, and it's just cars one after another belonging to all us reporters. And kind of the direction that you're looking at now is just all filled with law enforcement. I'm trying to see if I can count earlier before it got really dark. I think I counted 9 vehicles, including 2 armored vehicles that pulled in here. Again, we have some drones up in the air and that helicopter that continues to circle around. And just to remind folks, you know, why we have our lights off, law enforcement came up to us and just told us this is a dangerous situation and wanted us to turn all our lights off.
And Alex, we are certainly thankful that you are surrounded by other people. Certainly a fluid situation there, and as police said, a dangerous one. They've been very open about that through this whole process, so we hope you do stay safe. And we're going to stay with these images because it appears this is where police are really focusing their efforts. You mentioned you're seeing about 9 vehicles, 2 armored. We know this has been an extensive search for Robert Card, the man believed to be the shooter in both of those scenes at Spare Time Recreation and Schmeggy's there in Lewiston. Now, this is just another angle of the house that police seem to be focused on. This is from our colleagues over at NBC. We're sticking with Alex here, but we do have this other angle where you can kind of see a little bit more of the house and you get a better sense of just how far away reporters are from this. But again, you know, law enforcement, I know we had, what did they say earlier today, Brian? 350
hunting actively all day today.
Yes.
For Robert Card. And you know, in this new shot with NBC News, you can see kind of that little knoll or that hill that Alex was describing that the house is just on the other side of. So we're really seeing basically the top floor and the peak of this house on Meadow Road in Bowdoin tonight, and of course the reflecting light of those police cruisers in the night there. Where otherwise everyone else has been asked, including all the reporters, to turn off their lights and remain in the dark while they go through this process at this house. But Alex tells us he has not seen any activity or any movement with these requests for him to come out of this house tonight. But this clearly is where, after 24 hours, this search is concentrated.
Yeah, and Alex, you mentioned we haven't really heard from police in a bit.
Yeah, it's been quiet. Right now, we just hear the reporters off to the sides of us, kind of chatting with their teams, and the constant buzzing of this helicopter. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet here. I wanted to mention, again, just kind of why we started our reporting here today, and that's because law enforcement were investigating a home they believe was in some way connected to Robert Card on Meadow Street in Bowdoin. They left, they did block off part of a road, and then they returned to this home where they are stationed in front of now, and they were speaking, asking Robert Card. They mentioned him by name to come out with his hands up with nothing in them. They were asking him to come out and stand in front of a truck that is apparently in the driveway there. Amanda mentioned it. There's a little bit of a hill blocking this home, so we can't see a truck, but that's what we hear law enforcement saying is there in the driveway. They also were telling Robert Card that they don't want to hurt him, they don't want to hurt anyone, and can guarantee his safety. And just to set the scene for you here, again, we are in a driveway of a neighbor, and we are here with more than 20 other reporters, photographers, just kind of watching to see what happens, this quiet scene. We are, in front of us is a big field, and then off to the right of us, there's another field with a few trees, this little hill that I mentioned, and then the home of interest here with probably like 9 law enforcement cars gathered in that area, 2 armored vehicles. One is actually New Hampshire State Police. I saw that on the side when it passed us a little while ago. And that helicopter still hasn't left. We can hear in the background it's circling back around. We haven't seen it shine any spotlights or anything. We still have drones up. But the silence is notable from law enforcement. They may be waiting for Robert Card to, who they believe is in this home, to decide to come out. That will be something that we will have to wait and see what happens here.
And Alex, it is becoming more difficult to hear you as that helicopter flies overhead. You've referenced it a few times now, but again, it doesn't seem like they have been shining much of a light with the helicopter, although it kind of looks like, Brian, like the light just flicked back on that they had pointed at the house there.
Yeah, so this is the second angle that we're getting from this scene, Alex. I know you probably cannot see it, but we're getting a slightly better vantage of what is happening. The police lights outside this house, and then to the left of the specific shot we're seeing now, the house, which we can see right now, which I'm clear there's some moving light on it. So there's some activity around the house right now.
Yeah, what are you seeing, Alex?
Yeah, I was trying to get a close look here. We just still have those 2 armored vehicles parked in front of the home, shining their lights, and it is still, oh, go ahead, Amanda.
I was just going to say, we can tell you what we can see here, which again, like Brian said, you probably can't see well from where you are because of that hill that we can see here. But we're seeing lights shine across the home that they seem to be focused on here. Again, NBC News reporting that this is the home of Robert Card. But yeah, it seems like there are pretty big spotlights that have been moving over this home.
On this side of the house that we can see from here, and it's tough to make out. I can't tell if that is a window, a light in a window in the center over the peak.
Yeah, can you make out, Alex, from where you are? There's something on over the home.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It is very hard to see from this angle because of that hill. We can see that there are some lights being shined on this home, but we just see that tiny sliver of light, and I do not know. Oh, we did see a big spotlight go over the field across this home. I believe it might be coming from, I'm not sure where it's coming from, but we did just see this giant spotlight shine across the home here in this field. Not sure where that was coming from, but yet we can't really see much from our position, definitely as it has gotten darker. There's a sliver of light shining on this home here. I'm not sure if it's a window. very hard for us to make out just from our position and how the home is covered by some trees and this hill. I did mention that spotlight a few minutes ago. I haven't seen it again.
And just to explain, and so Alex, what we are all looking at on the screen right now is the picture of the scene in Bowdoin. We're seeing a few more, presumably spotlights moving around as police are outside a house in Bowdoin that they believe Robert Card is in. Robert Card is the man police believe is responsible for the shootings last night in Lewiston that killed 8 people, left 13 people injured.
18 people killed.
And this is the latest scene where the biggest concentration and focus seems to be now. And we heard, probably about a half an hour ago now, we heard what sounded like a bullhorn of police talking to, saying Robert Card, asking him to come out of this house. We have not heard any of that for a little bit now. But to be fair, it could also be drowned out by the helicopter that has now arrived and is circling the property as well.
And Alex, you talked about the spotlights that you're seeing on the field to sort of set the scene for people. It sounds like the field is really the only separation between you and the reporters and this home where they seem to be focused.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when law enforcement first came up to us asking us to turn our lights off because of a dangerous situation, I kind of crouched down. I got a little nervous because we're somewhat close to this home. There is some distance, but it is this open field and just this little hill that's kind of acting as a barrier between us and this home here. I just saw a light from the police kind of shine up and then go towards the house. They may be repositioning their lights or just adding more light to the situation. You guys had touched on it, why we were here in the first place along Meadow Road in Bowdoin, because as NBC was reporting, this is the home of Robert Card, and they were executing a search warrant, and it's been, a very busy place today. There were reports earlier today of gunshots being fired, but that turned out to be false, and that was from the Maine Department of Public Safety. There were loud noises, and I want to comment right now, the armored vehicle appears to be driving close to the home, and has disappeared behind this little hill between us and the home. So that armored vehicle has just disappeared. Not sure.
Wow, and we just saw, Alex,
Not sure
we just
why.
saw a lot of the lights go out there and then come back on.
Yep. Yep, we had that armored vehicle drive closer to the home, and then we still have an armored vehicle positioned across the street from the home, shining some lights. We do see some lights moving around. I'm just trying to look to see. We can see a window that's being lit up. No lights on inside from what we can see, but we can see a window, a chimney, just bits and pieces of this home and that helicopter. Oh, there's a light being shined, as you can see, pointed right at us. I'm not quite sure if that is from a drone.
It does almost look like a
But we are
drone
definitely
from what we've
seeing law
seen, yeah.
enforcement. Yeah, I think so. And we see another drone to the left. It might not be in the frame right now, but is kind of
we can see
looking at
that.
the back. What would be the back of the house? Yep, okay. Yeah, and then this light that's shining right at us, and it just repositioned or went out.
And Alex, we're sticking with you here
And
at
again, I
this...
want to mention it.
Oh, go ahead, please.
No, just wanted to mention that, it has been quiet for a while. We heard police, trying to communicate with who they were saying is Robert Card. They were asking him to come out of this home with his hands up, nothing in them, and they said that they could guarantee his safety. And right now we're seeing an armored vehicle backing away from the home now, pulling out of the driveway completely, back onto the road, this armored vehicle. We saw 2 here. One of them is from New Hampshire State Police, so That car is completely pulled out of the driveway, and it is actually behind another armored vehicle, so just trying to see what they're doing. It looks like the other armored vehicle right now with its red lights on is repositioning. That's going into the driveway now. So we're seeing a little switch up here with the armored vehicles. One was in the driveway, one backed out, and now we see this other one driving back into this driveway here. And then we're seeing some lights being just moved around, shined on this home here, where they, again, law enforcement say Robert Card is.
And Alex, please feel free to interrupt us when you see something important that you think we need to know. And we're going to stick with this image here, but Chris Costa has now joined us on the desk as well. And Chris, you've been talking with other law enforcement. It seems like you have a little bit more information to add in here as well.
Just a little, not much, but here's what we can tell you. There are public documents that help us understand why police may be focused on this home. There are town of Bowdoin tax records that show that there is a property on the road where Alex is that belongs to someone by the name of Robert Card Sr. And it matches one of the addresses that we've been informed of that we might send a crew to. We believe Alex is at that home right now. Mm-hmm. We believe that's the reason the police have gone to this house, is they're maybe trying to draw a connection between who owns that home and potentially the suspect they are looking for being inside. Now, throughout this process, I've been trying to talk to law enforcement sources to get a better understanding of what exactly they're doing. The reason we can't tell you that is because they are concerned that if Robert Card is watching television right now, explaining what they are doing would give away their tactics, jeopardize the investigation, jeopardize the lives of the officers and the first responders trying to bring this situation to a peaceful end.
Right. We certainly don't want to do that.
No, obviously not. But it is helpful to understand that in these moments where it feels so tense, why there is a lack of information.
Right. There's clearly a plan set in place that they are putting in motion here that none of us know about, but that's probably also, Alex, why it's been so quiet where you are.
Exactly, yeah, and I had that thought. I'm glad Chris mentioned it. You know, we also want to, not give away law enforcement position, anything like that, for their safety in case Robert Card is watching TV. I want to remind people, that are watching, we are in this driveway at a neighbor's near this road, and there are just dozens of reporters, photographers here, so that's why you might hear some other noises. Other crews are working here delivering this news to folks. You might hear the noise of a helicopter that's been circling around. And we actually see, reporters just changing up positions, next to us to the left across the street. There's another field. We have a field in front of us, and then we have a field to our left. And, everyone's just trying to get the best positioned where you're not able to see too much because, again, we have this little hill in front of this home here that's kind of blocking our view. But we do have an armored vehicle in the driveway of this home, shining some light on this home where they believe Robert Card is. But other than that, we don't have much light here. We had that law enforcement officer come up to all us reporters earlier. I'm trying to check the time here. Might have been an hour ago. Brian and Amanda, if you know, correct me. It's kind of gone by fast here. But they came up to us a while ago, asked us all to turn our lights off because of a dangerous situation. I kind of crouched down because I wasn't sure what was going on, and got a little nervous ourselves. So we heard of this dangerous situation, and we slowly watched law enforcement approach this home here on Meadow Street in Bowdoin, and then they started communicating to Robert Card, who they say is in this home. They were asking him to come out into the driveway and stand in front of a truck that's supposedly in this driveway. We cannot see that truck because of that hill there blocking our view. They said that police were saying that they can guarantee Robert Card's safety. They were telling him that, and that they would not hurt him.
Alex, I just want to clarify with you. Has there been any indication from the law enforcement officers on scene that Robert Card is in fact in that home? Is there any confirmation of that right now?
So there's no confirmation. We're just hearing law enforcement say Robert Card's name. That was a little while ago. It's been quiet now, but a little while ago we heard them say, Robert Card, we know that you're in there. Come out with your hands up. So they have not told us, hey, we know Robert Card is in this home, but it sounds like, listening to them, they believe Robert Card is in this home here on Meadow Street.
We're going to take a brief pause here, Alex, just to listen to what's going on and to really get a sense of the scene.
With the town of Bowdoin. Where this is happening is about a 25-minute drive from Lewiston, where these double shootings happened last night. These two shootings on different locations happened last night. It's about 14 miles. And this is obviously where police are concentrating their efforts tonight, 25 hours now after the first 911 call about the shots fired at the bowling alley in Lewiston. And then just 12 minutes later, about 4 miles from there at a bar where 18 people in total have died and 13 were injured. And to bring up to speed, Alex Haskell is on this scene, and we're looking at video right now of where police have essentially surrounded a house in Bowdoin right now, which again is just about 25 minutes from Lewiston, where these just horrible scenes unfolded last night.
And Brian, it was just 1 minute ago we got an email from Shannon Moss. She is the Public Information Officer for the Maine Department of Public Safety, and she did confirm that law enforcement officials are on the scene here on Meadow Road, executing several search warrants. Now, she said what we're hearing over that loudspeaker, that's standard search warrant announcements when executing a warrant to ensure safety of all persons involved in this scene right now. They are not sure, from what she's saying, whether Robert Card is in any of the homes that law enforcement do plan on searching, but they're simply doing their due diligence by.
And good to hear that this is standard. This is what they do. They show up and they make that announcement, which is what we were listening to a while ago, about a half an hour ago now.
I mean, for just a tiny bit of context, one thing that's difficult about this, it could be frustrating, right, is the fact that it really is unknown whether or not Robert Card is inside that home. Right. I will say, from covering other situations of manhunts, particularly ones that have been mass shooting events, there have been times when federal law enforcement officials and regional, state, local have all surrounded a home, made these exact same calls, but there's been nobody inside the home. So this is not uncommon, just so our viewers understand. This is not a pinpoint, oh, yes, the suspect they're looking for is in this home. And that's what Shannon is reminding us to convey to the viewers here, that just because these announcements are being made does not necessarily mean that this person is inside that home.
And just to reiterate, the level of where all of these scenes have been all day, the fact that we have reporters in all these different scenes that have been very, very active throughout the day in Lisbon, in Lewiston, here in Bowdoin. And we heard Alex tell us earlier that police came to both he and the line of reporters there to say, this is a very dangerous situation. Shut your lights off, please. He's been very quiet in his reporting. He's been whispering. We are hoping that we keep him safe here, and I know we're giving him kind of a break here and letting he and his photographer sort of reassess what's going on. But very active scenes here that we're seeing.
Yes, and all day, Sam Rogers was outside the bowling alley for a lot of the day and was telling us that there were periods of time that all of a sudden several police cruisers would go past. We heard the same from David Guilford, who was in Lisbon near the high school there, and he would see tactical crews suddenly just load up into a truck and head off. So all day for the last 24 hours, we've been hearing those calls, if you will, for a response.
Yeah, we continue to see some movement here at the Bowdoin home. Again, you can hear that helicopter. We have seen what appears to be drones flying around this home. Earlier tonight, if you're just tuning in, earlier tonight we could actually hear police speaking over a loudspeaker, which again, Shannon Moss with the Maine Department of Public Safety says that is standard search warrant announcement, that they do that for the safety of all involved. And some of what we heard was, we don't want anyone else hurt.
Right. Yeah, and they did. They kept reiterating
Yeah,
that.
and I want to.
Oh, Alex is back with us. Alex, thank you.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, Brian. Yeah, just wanted to add to that. We heard them saying a bunch of things to who they believe is Robert Card in this home. Telling him to come out with his hands up, with nothing in them. They were asking him to come out and stand in front of a truck, which is apparently in this driveway. We can't see it because of a hill we've mentioned. We just want to keep reminding you, our view here is limited and we're just going off of what we can hear. And they said that they could help. They said that they could guarantee Robert Card's safety if he is in this home, and they don't want to do anyone harm. We still have this helicopter circling around us. That hasn't changed. And kind of want to give folks an idea of where we are, what the scene kind of looks like. We are in a neighbor's driveway, and across the way here, we are obviously pointing at this home of interest. We have a field here, and then a tree line off to the right, some trees off to the left of us, and then a field. And then again, as I mentioned, that hill that's blocking our view of this home that has some lights shined on it. And of course, we want to be, fairly vague with law enforcement position in case Robert Card. We heard Chris Costa mention this, in case Robert is there listening, watching TV, we don't want to give him any information on where law enforcement are. So we will be vague in our description, but you can obviously see here members of law enforcement are in front of this home. We have 2 armored vehicles here. One is New Hampshire State Police. Not sure what the other one is. Earlier, we saw about 9 vehicles come down this stretch here, pull up in front of this home, and we've seen these armored vehicles kind of switch in and out, shining lights on this home. And we still have this helicopter that is circling around. Go ahead, Amanda.
No, I was just going to help you out if you were running out of things to say. We certainly do hope that this does come to a peaceful resolution. I know of the 350 plus law enforcement officials who have been involved in this search for now more than 24 hours for Robert Card. We do hope this does come to a peaceful resolution. Again, you're watching live images of a home in Bowdoin right now.
And it was 9.5 hours ago now that we last heard directly from police when they held a briefing at Lewiston City Hall. The head of the state police saying that there was an arrest warrant out for Robert Card for 8 counts of murder. So, as we were just hearing from the public information officer for the Department of Public Safety, Shannon Moss, that they're executing a search warrant, and these are kind of standard procedures they do to alert people in the area to what is going on, because again, 8 counts of murder, and police had said at the time that number was likely going to go up as more victims were identified, and that was the only reason that it was only 8, even though 18 people were killed last night. That number they do anticipate going up.
You've got to imagine that for Alex, I meant to ask you, are there lots of homes nearby? Is this a dense neighborhood, or are they pretty spread out?
That's right.
Yeah, good question, Chris. So they are pretty spread out. This is rural Maine. Many of us from here can kind of picture that. We have our fields, but we also have homes kind of spread out here. We are at a neighbor's home, and the only home that I can see is one directly in front of us on the same side of the road as we are. You can't see it just because it's too dark. And then we have this home here to our left, which is where police believe Robert Card is. So everything is pretty spread out here.
This home's nearby to have the activity that's going on around this home, the helicopters, the bullhorn. Yes, we understand that these are standard procedures when executing search warrants, but given the shelter in place, given the fact that police have said that this person is armed and dangerous, I can imagine that it might put a lot of people who live in that area on edge. Obviously, I would defer to them, hearing their personal experience as they live this, but trying to put ourselves in the shoes of the people who might be watching this from across a yard.
Because, that's shelter in place has been for Bowdoin, has been one of those communities. Lewiston, Lisbon, Auburn, Bowdoin, most of Androscoggin County. So these very neighborhoods are what have been under that. Have been told to just stay inside, don't open your doors, lock your cars. That has been the ongoing message from law enforcement.
Guys, I can chime in here. We haven't seen too much of a scene change here, but I can kind of bring you back to kind of what brought us here and how this all began. Law enforcement came here investigating a home NBC News was reporting in connection to Robert Card. They were executing a search warrant, and that is where they found a note at this home. Not sure if it's the one they are at right now, but it was a home along this road. They found this note, and they were trying to determine the meaning of this note and how it could potentially guide their investigation. Also earlier today, there were reports of gunshots being fired. This was way earlier, and the Maine Department of Public Safety told us that that was not true. There were no gunshots fired earlier. We arrived on scene, and there were just law enforcement blocking off this road. We chatted with a few neighbors who said that they couldn't drive up the road here, Meadow Road, to get to their homes because police had blocked them off. Then we saw law enforcement leave the area. Some were still here. The road was still blocked off, but we saw some law enforcement vehicles leave, and then they came back, and then that's when a member of law enforcement came up to us and asked us to turn off our lights. He said because of a dangerous situation. So because of a potential dangerous situation, all reporters here were asked to turn off their lights. And it's quite the scene here. I know you guys obviously can't see it, but there has to be at least maybe 100 photographers, reporters here. That's why you might hear some noise in the background. They're all here with their eyes hooked on this scene, this home where members of law enforcement believe Robert Card possibly is. We heard them a while ago trying to speak to Robert Card, who could be in this home. They mentioned him by name, asking him to come out of this home. They said, "We know that you're in there. Come out with your hands up, with nothing in them." They asked him to come out into the driveway and stand in front of a car. They said that they could guarantee his safety and don't want to hurt him. That is what we heard law enforcement communicate to possibly Robert Card, who could be in this home here in Bowdoin.
And Alex, you mentioned this is an interesting scene. It's not something we personally have seen before. I honestly can't tell you the last time we took a standoff live on television.
Yeah, well, it's been years since we've seen a manhunt of this size.
Right.
I think the last time we've seen anything of this scale with the sheer number of police from all over New England was Corporal Cole's murder back in April of 2018. In fact, I spoke to Cheryl Cole, Corporal Cole's wife, who says she has been watching this coverage constantly, and it is, of course, bringing up horrible memories for her during that difficult time. I want to read what she wrote to me. She said, "The news of what's happening in Lewiston sent me back 5.5 years. Granted, my situation was nothing compared to this one, but the massive manhunt in the aftermath of my husband's murder put this community in such a state of shock and horror. My heart breaks for the Lewiston community."